Okay, before you can start with the application of this WCF service, which will experiment with the instancing and concurrency mode. I wanted to show you a little demo of hosting our products API. So in the lecture, we have created the REST API for managing products information. And we also developed the web client that was accessing that API. But what if you want to host it on the IIS server? So let us see the steps for hosting that web API, our product API, onto the IIS server. And in fact, I have updated the slides for that one also. So from the Google Classroom, you can download the updated slides. In case if you already downloaded, that will not cover this added snapshot. Okay, so Priyank is asking, by default it is on IIS. So see that in Visual Studio, when we run the application, it will host it on the IIS Express Edition. Okay, so if we have a separate IIS install on our operating system, and then we need to deploy our application on the IIS server, then we require some steps to be followed. Or whether it is on a remote server or maybe on the cloud, wherever it may be, if you have the Windows operating system on which IIS server is running, and if you want to deploy our website, then a few steps you need to follow it. So I will just show you. And I had some difficulty and some configuration issues. I will also discuss those issues in case that might be on your system also. Like initially, I had some issues deploying the this web API. For that, some configurations are needed, and you need to try that configuration before, and after that it was successfully deployed and was able to access it. So just a minute, let me share my screen. So just check all of you that whether IIS server is running on your system or not. If the IIS server is not running on your system, then you need to basically install it separately. So in the Windows operating system, there is an option of turning on some of the features for IIS and some others that you need to enable it. So in the search bar, you can search for the IIS server. Is it there or not? Just check it on your system. I will show you on my system, and then also you can check it on your system. So you can search for IIS Manager in the search bar, Windows search bar, and see that IIS is running or not. Just let me know whether the IIS is installed on your system or not. Okay, so many of you are not install IIS separately. So I think what is required, you can again search into the Windows search bar or turn Windows features on and off. Are you able to see it? This option, turn Windows features on or off. You can just select this option. Either you can directly go through the control panel and then select this option, or you can from the search bar itself, you can select this option. So suppose I select that option, you will find out. And there is an option of Internet Information Services. So you'll see that currently it is selected. Otherwise, you need to, if it is not selected, you need to select it and finally click on the OK button. I have not selected the FTP server because right now I'm not using the FTP server on my system. But you can see the set of options that I have selected on my machine. And further, so, yeah. Hope that it is readable. You can just see this option, and if these options are not selected, you can select this option and click on OK. So the Windows will install those features into the existing kernel. And one of the option is ASP.NET 4.8. It is also selected. Okay, I had 3.8 selected, 3.5 and 3.5 and 4.8. So within this option, IIS, Internet Information Services, at least you can select this many options. This many options are working on my system. Previously, this ASP.NET 4.8 was not selected, and due to that, I was unable to run this our products API on the IIS server. But after searching on the internet, I found the solution. There are many solutions, but this solution worked for me. After selecting this menu option, you can click on OK, and then Windows will automatically install those features into the current kernel. And it doesn't require restart, right? So you need not restart your system. And then check whether you are able to open the IIS or not. You can search for IIS, Internet Information Services Manager app. If you click on that, you should be able to, right? So this option is available in my system. If you click on that, you should be able to see that. So now this IIS server, this manager is there, and then you can deploy your website, static website or any other website onto the IIS server. And there might be different versions also of the IIS server. So depending upon your operating system version, there might be currently I think it is the newer version of IIS. Currently it is 10, IIS 10, which is running on my system. Just send a message that your IIS is working on your system or not. So that we can move on to the next step. Because by default this feature is disabled, so we have to explicitly enable, and then we will be able to run this IIS server. And if you wish, I think you can download the my course note, and there also the screenshots are present. Okay, so in case if you want to refer to it in future, the screenshots will be helpful, because then we will not remember that what was the problem and how did we solve it. That's why I kept it as part of the lecture notes. Because in future, if you are working on another system and there these options are not available or you are unable to deploy it, these steps will help you at that time. What about others? For others, it is working or not? I think it will take few minutes depending upon your hardware. The features will take some time to be installed and doesn't require restarting the operating system. Okay, so meanwhile, we can see the further steps. After the installation is complete, you should be able to open this IIS manager and then see that what you need to do. Here you need to select this option. I think I already done it. Yeah, so it is there. So what I will show you the screenshot. In the IIS manager, you can right click the site option and there is an option called add a website. And then you can specify, you can write down the name of the site. I have written products. There is an application pool. You go with the default application pool, and from the file system, you select the path of the project. Okay, so products API. So within the solution folder, you will find out your project folder. So my project folder is named as products API. So I've selected it from the file system. And once it is done, the next step, by default, the protocol will be HTTP and port number will be 80. If you want to change the port number to another, like 8080 or 8080, 8081, 8000, whatever, 3000, 5000, you can change it from this text box and then click on the OK. And by default, this option is selected, start website immediately. Otherwise, you need to start and stop your website manually. So that is also possible. Once it is done, then you can right click your website. So I gave the name products. You can right click it, manage website, and you can directly click on the browse button. So it will try to open the base URL of the website into the browser. So from here also you can start or restart your, you can stop your restart your website. Once it is running, you need to type in this URL. So localhost and then port number is not specified, because for port number 80, we need not specify the port number. If the port number is other than 80, then you need to specify the port number. Suppose it is 8080, then you need to write down 8080. And our routing is set as /API/controller name. So it is /API/products, and it will return all the product list as an XML. Similarly, if I change it to the path name to /API/product/2, so then it will give me the product with the ID 2. So that way you can verify that now you have deployed your website on the IIS server and it is working, and you should be able to get the output. That means you can consume it from the browser, or you can write down the client application and then you can consume the REST API, or you can use some front-end language like Angular, React. Those framework can be used. You develop this front-end, and from that front-end, you write down the code to consume the REST API. So for this example, we had only two methods: get products and get product with the ID. So these two methods we are able to successfully consume. Okay. I hope that IIS is now working on your system for most of you. And then you can try out that small example, and then you should be able to deploy it on the IIS server separately. Otherwise, by default, if you run the application in our Visual Studio, it will host it on the local IIS Express edition, and then we are able to consume it from the browser or some other app. And similarly, you can also deploy it on the cloud. So the steps for deploying on the cloud will vary from one cloud operator to another. Or you can also create the virtual machine or your complete OS. You can set this thing up into the cloud, and then some configurations are needed, like setting up the host and the server, and then manually deploying it onto that server, and then you should be able to consume it from anywhere on the internet. So if you are able to successfully deploy on your system, and if you are giving the IP address on the same LAN, you should be able to consume it from any of the machine. So suppose you have two computer, right? There are two computers in the same Wi-Fi network. Then you should be able to deploy on one machine and then consume it from the another computer. If they are on the same Wi-Fi LAN, over the same Wi-Fi network, then one can act as the server and another can act as the client. But then instead of localhost, you need to replace the localhost with the IP address of the another machine. So normally at home, if we have the router and then many devices are connected to the router. So in that case, it will form the local area network, and one of the machine can be act as a server and others can act as a client. So just for testing purpose, in case if you are interested, you can also set it up at home also. So many of the networking applications, you can just test it at your home. Okay, once it is done, you can continue with the work that we have given to you. You have to work on the demo application that we have discussed in the class for the different instancing and concurrency mode. Try out the different combination and see that you are getting the expected output by actually running it. And most of the time when you are changing it, you need to rebuild your application. So every time if you are making change, build the project again, and then it will reflect into the client output. Otherwise, it will not be reflected. Okay, so make sure that once you make change, you rebuild your project or solution. And any other issues that you are facing, you can also discuss right now. So the session is open. We are here. Any other doubt in any other practicals, you can ask right now. So we can utilize this 2 hour time.
Yes, Keval, you are supposed to follow slides of both the lectures, starting from instancing, and then you should follow concurrency, right? So that you can practice both the cases. Fine? Yes. And there is one more announcement. Now, as we have started with the third sessional phase, and in the first lab of SOC, whether you are online or offline, you have decided a project, right? And all of you have given the definition, right? So I hope all of you are going to go with the same definition. Yes or no? Okay. Okay. And I'll just remind that you are supposed to implement that project in WCF only, right? Not in API, not as an API, right? So you just have to implement a simple WCF service, right? That will provide CRUD operation, right? As we discussed in the lab. And you need to host it appropriately. Now you all are clear how to write down the hosting code. Plus, you need to implement a client based on your requirement, right? It is not compulsory that you have to implement a web-based client, right? If you want to implement, yes, Keval, I'm just coming to that point. You can create a web-based client, or if required, you can go with a form-based client also. Fine. So it is up to you. Depending upon the application type and your choice, you can select appropriate client. Is that fine, Keval? So if you want to go with web-based client, go with it. If you want to design a form-based client, you have had enough practice of that also. Fine. But basically, that should be a working project, right? With the CRUD operations, right, defined on the entity that you decide. Okay. And I think you have had discussion of that in the earlier labs, right? So the next important point is, okay. Yes, that's okay, Urjit. You can go as per your project's demands, right? No issues with that. Okay, fine. Okay, so next announcement is the submission of this project report will be in the submission week, right? You will have a submission week after the sessional examinations are over, fine. And during that submission week, we'll give a schedule, right? And at that point, you have to submit your project. That is, you need to have a demo of your project ready. Plus, you need to create a report of that. Okay. So, including the lab assignments, I'm repeating, all 10 labs you are submitting as per the deadline. Most of you are submitting, right? Plus, you need to submit this project report and the demo, right, as the submission. Okay. So, based on that, right, based on the submission of your all 10 or 11 labs, whatever will be having, plus your project report, your term work will be granted. Fine. So make sure that you don't miss out on anything, right? You have to submit each and every individual lab submissions. Yes, you can create a simple project report like you are doing in SDP, right? Similar to that, right? Yes. But you can limit that set of diagrams or requirements. Yes, Priyank, I'm coming to that point. You can just limit yourself to only that CRUD operations or to entity that you are implementing. No need to create a project of your entire, no need to create a report of your entire system. I think that would be fine, Priyank. It won't take a time. Yes. Still, if there is any concern, you can let us know, right? Don't worry. Okay. So I think all of us have decided during the labs that you will be going with 2 entities of your system, right? I hope you remember that. 2 entities of your system, right? So at least for those 2 entities, you include in your report. Okay. No need to include the rest of the things. Okay. Yes. Is that fine? So again, I'll repeat, the submission would be requiring your demo, right? We'll take a demo in the submission week, plus you need to submit the report, okay? A concise report, I would say, on that. Okay, and plus all 10 or 11 labs you have to submit in the classroom. Okay, so start working on it, right? If you're not yet started, right? And if there is any doubt, confusion, you can definitely let us know by email at any point of time. Okay, we will help you out in that case. Fine, thank you.
Devans, can you share your screen? I think. Mm, okay, service behavior, instance context mode. I think let me zoom in. So, have you included this system.service model?
Yes, sir.
Then it should be there because system.service model assembly contains all these instance context mode. Again, you can remove and retry. I think it should automatically get these properties, remove that entire line and try to write down from the scratch. I think it will show you the IntelliSense that how many
Yeah.
properties are available as part of the service behavior. Service behavior, select that second option. Okay. And within the parenthesis, what are the properties? See that just type in in, so it will automatically move directly to that. So check that it is there or not. Okay. Equal. Once again, instance context mode. Yes. Dot or call. Yes.
Okay.
So I think I don't know what was the problem, whether it was typo or
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, if you are running that client tab from the Visual Studio itself, it will use the console of the Visual Studio. But if you are running it separately, then you won't be able to get the console from the from the file system browser. If you are doing it, then you don't get the access to the console. In Visual Studio, just see that you can, at the bottom you have the different tab, output, and so you just click the output tab. Output, data tools, operations, error list. So those tabs are there. From that you select the output tab. Yes. Share your screen.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, when I trying to run this client tab and click on this button, so output should print on the console. But whenever I run this Windows application form, so here that console part is not there.
So see that output is there. No? See that there is output section. You just scroll it down. Yeah. So there you should get the output.
Here.
Yes. You can just try to. And this output we are. It is the output is sent by the host or service actually, not the client, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. By service.
By service. Okay. So
yes,
the
sir.
service should send this output to the console window. So here you should get the output, I think.
But sir, I am not getting here.
I think independently also it should work if you're hosting your service into the console or
A Windows Form application.
okay, form application. Let me check. So right now we are trying with the instancing or concurrency.
Both, because I have
Okay.
tried using for call instancing and single concurrency mode.
Second program you are trying, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you are running the service independently or from the Visual Studio?
Visual Studio. That host is running from Explorer, File Explorer here. But
So that's why, yeah, that's what I'm telling. I think you should run this host from the Visual Studio and run the client from the File Explorer.
Okay, sir.
So you try that because if you're running it independently, then it will not have the access to the console.
Okay, sir.
And now from the File Explorer, you run the client. Bin debug folder. Yeah, first one. Yeah, so
Yes,
see
sir.
that now
Yes, sir.
it has access to the console, and that's why get the output into the console. But when you are running independently, there this Windows Form application have no access to the console.
Yes, sir.
There is no associated console for that. That's why.
Okay. Thank you, sir.